Welcome to Connect. I know you probably have the same problem that I had with my mom. She was getting older. She needed help. And I didn't know really what to do and who to turn to. Today, I have a consultant here, a senior consultant, a home care consultant, who will help me with this question. So we'll be right back. We're back, and I want to introduce you to Ruth Martin. Welcome, Ruth.
Thank you.
I understand you're a home care and a senior consultant.
Yes.
And but let's start a little bit about how you came to Santa Cruz and how did you start all this?
Yeah, I visited a friend, and then I met some people, and then I was hanging around, and since I'm there, you know. And I met people, they supported me, and I went back to the school here and did some education besides my education that I bring with me from Europe.
What did you bring?
I'm a nurse midwife, and I have also an administration certification from Europe. And here I went to the school to become an administrator for a residential care facility, what is also called assisted living, for example, you know. And I went to the school and I have the certification since then.
And how long have you been doing home care support?
I started out as being employed at the home care agencies in Santa Cruz County and in Monterey County. And some of the caregivers I worked with told me that they would like to work with me, and they started slowly as one person taking care, but I was like a caregiver, and then it grows, and then it became incorporated, and now
you are,
I'm still around.
How many years has it been now that you started the business?
Since I'm doing this business, 2002, 2003.
Oh, that's quite a long time.
Yeah.
So now, some of us were confused when we first started. We have the home health care and we have the home care. Can you tell us what the difference is?
Home health care goes under the umbrella of medical care. It needs a doctor's order. It includes, for example, that a nurse is coming to your house and you be normally at home for a home health care. And a nurse comes once or twice a week and make your vital signs, and you probably have a physical therapist may come, or occupational therapist. So the whole 9 yards, more or less, they are also in the hospital. They come when you come home from a hospital stay after surgery. And this goes under the umbrella of home health care. It's covered by the insurance.
And that lasts not that long, right?
This is short term, very often some weeks, but not for months.
Right.
And the home care is a non-medical care. This means someone from an agency, private caregiver, they come to your house and give you personal care, bathing, dressing, like housekeeping, driving you to doctor's appointments, or picking up errands, or do things like that.
Make meals?
Make meals. And this is covered under home care. And this can go on for short term or long term. And then it's also covered at home care very often, working together with hospice.
Right.
And this is paid privately or by long-term care insurances if people have that.
So people have to get, I have, you know, after my husband passed away, I got for myself long-term care plan because I didn't want my friends to have to care for me in case it really became difficult. I mean, of course they do care for me when I had surgery and things like that, but that's all short term. But if I need long-term care, I have insurance for that. And I've seen my other older friends be very happy with that, and they had some great people coming to the house. Now, so that's the difference between home health care and home care. Now, does a person always need home care, or are there different options within that?
Well, that's a very good question.
Yeah.
Very often we get phone calls that people say, we don't know if we need care or not, but we don't know what we should do. And I personally go in each houses, I respond to each phone call and look at the situation and make an examination, and then we look into whether we really need home care or we need just giving help to people that are working there, very often family members or friends, organize the care without us providing a caregiver to the house. And we sit maybe once a week at the beginning and later on every second week or once a month, just to give the support and the supervision that people have the feeling someone is there in the background if they need to ask some questions or something change in the health of the patient, of the client, at the home.
And would you and the caregivers be in charge of making sure that if there is a health situation, do you report that? Do they report it to you? How does the doctors get involved? Because doctors are still involved.
Oh yeah.
And so how is that communication going?
Yeah. If we provide caregiver in the houses of clients, our caregivers are educated and they're very well known. We are working together for many, many years with all of our caregivers. We have rarely new caregivers. And they know exactly if they have the feeling that a patient becomes hot, they give a call to the office and then we go by or we talk with the doctor and say, look, this and this happened. We have a close connection with family members, the caregiver in the house, with the family members and our office. And then one person in the office, and it's me, basically. Then I was getting smaller, a little smaller with my business, that I can really see all my clients by myself. And then I call the doctor's office, and then very often we get advice on the phone, make this one, make the blood pressure, or make the pulse, or make the temperature, for example. And then we do it, and then we report back to the doctor.
Okay, good. So there's a good.
And we have also a daily logbook where we write down everything. When we have a caregiver at the house, they have to write down when they arrive, what they are doing, every single thing to the time they are leaving. Or another caregiver comes in, depend how many hours care we provide.
And that's how you, because I assume you have different clients, so that's how you can see in the logbook if the procedures that were set up are actually followed.
Exactly.
And that's good.
And the care plan, what we do for a client when we provide care with caregivers, is every time with the doctor's order, with the family's wishes, but it's very important for us. And then we set up the care plan. And then we hang also the care plan in the house of a client, that they know exactly when to do what. And also the family members, this is very important for us, We are there to support the people at home. We are not doing what we think is right. For this person, it is right what we do. For another one, we have to adjust. And this is the reason that I said...
So you said you adjusted then?
We adjust the care plan. Okay. What is good for your mother maybe is not good for my mother, while there are different needs, and that's what we do.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Respect the needs and adjust the care plan to the needs.
Right. So then the question, of course, who of the family, because I can imagine, I have a number of brothers and sisters, and is it helpful to have one person from the family then be the communicator? I mean, I assume there's some situations here and there that you really have to work through then.
We call it family dynamic. Each family has a dynamic, But it would be good if one person has the power of attorney for healthcare, and then also this person is responsible to responding with us. and then goes out and talk with the siblings. This is the best scenario.
Right.
But it's not happen every time. And then I get phone calls, from siblings. They are living somewhere out of state. And I'm very polite and I explain to them, but first I talk with the person who has the power of attorney, whoever it is, that they give me the permission that I can talk to the siblings.
Okay.
You're not just talking. It is very important that you respect, what is going on in the family. And if you have the permission to talk, I'm more than willing to talk to 10 siblings if they call me. Maybe I have another day in the week then, but it's happened from time to time.
Right. Yeah. So I can imagine. I remember I had some elderly friends, and they indeed, they were smart because there were 4 siblings, and they knew that they would probably have some different ideas about how to care for their parents. And so what my elderly friends did, one person was in charge of the power of attorney for medical care. And of course, that was only in place when they couldn't make their own decisions.
Exactly.
So the power of attorney, once they weren't able to make their own decision for medical care, and they had another sibling who was a power of attorney financially. And I think that is very important because I can imagine that you're in charge of the money, and you don't want to say, I'm not going to do this medically because that's going to cost money and that's going to take away from my inheritance later. I can imagine those things happen. So, but they were smart. One person in charge of the finances, the other person in charge of the medical care. Once they were not able to make their own decisions. And I really appreciated that because I was their friend and I, helped them with their bookkeeping. And that made it easier for me also to know who to go to, when there were bills to be paid.
Yeah.
I was just the bookkeeper. But then the other thing is, their family members, they have communication with you through the people that have power of attorney, or assigned person to communicate with. But how about the family members talking to caregivers and vice versa?
Yeah.
How's that work?
Our caregivers are cool to say, when they ask a question, for example, they say, should we do such and such with our pet? All our caregivers say, call Ruth. Then the family is calling me or not, But the caregiver is reporting to me and also write in the logbook, family member X, whatever name, ask me about such and such question, and I refer them, they should call you. This is so important. There is something that called confidential, And each caregiver has their own meaning and their own will, that they say, I would like to do this, or I would like to do something different. And if 5 caregivers in a house, that normally is not a way, but each caregiver is telling you something different, you're very, very confused. And this is the reason that I talk with all my caregivers when they come to us and they have training. There are some guidelines we set up, And we say, this is this. If there is a question about the care or what is going on in the house, please refer to me, and I'm going there if needed, and make an appointment and sit down with a family member, We have this very often, especially when we work together with hospice, and then we have the hospice people there, and we work also together with them and refer very often some questions to the hospice people. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, one of my friends was 102, and she had lovely caregivers. But indeed, what you describe is that there was the one person was in charge who ran the business, and she had frequent communication with the caregivers. And then when the family member, they had also one person, so I think she set it up the way you did it. One of the family members was the key person to communicate with the main person.
Exactly.
And only seldom was there a situation where one caregiver thought this way and another caregiver thought that way, or a family member said, no, I think we need to change it.
Yeah.
But luckily, the person in charge said the same thing as you did. Let's sit down and talk about this.
Exactly.
Instead of having the family members giving the caregivers, now this is what you're going to do and this is what you need to do. And this is because I say so.
Yeah.
Because who are we doing it for?
Yeah.
It is the person who is ill, maybe at the end of their life, or my husband died when he was 45, so but he was at the end of his life.
Sorry, this is very young.
I had a situation, unfortunately, where a caregiver came in one morning, and I was ready to go to work, and my husband and he couldn't speak anymore. He was just kind of, like, I don't want to deal with this person. I got all frantic, and I didn't know.
There is a reason when this
happened. Well, luckily, I decided that I needed to have that person be in another room, and then I had to ask lots of questions because he could say yes and no, and that was all there was. And so then it came out that the caregiver had said something to my husband that was very upsetting. So then I said to the caregiver, it looks like he's very upset. Is there something you said to him? And he said, yeah, I told him that he shouldn't be such a silly whatever. In a couple months, he'll be fine. And so I said, I don't think so. I think you want to leave right now.
Yeah.
So I told the person to leave, called the agency, stayed home that day, and the next day we had a lovely young woman who was there for my husband and not just telling someone who's dying, you'll be better in a couple months, don't do so silly.
First of all, be better in a couple months is in the aura of a medical doctor or not a caregiver, you know, first of all. Second of all, we cannot set up some precedence that we say a client, you're getting better or not better or whatever. It's not in the field of a caregiver.
It's not in their purview.
All, you know?
It's definitely not in their purview.
No. And very often it is also that, especially when we bring a caregiver to the house at the beginning, if the chemistry get along,
fine.
You're fine. But sometimes it's not that the caregiver is bad, it is just that the chemistry is not getting along, you know? And then we change the caregiver. There's not a problem at all. There's not a bad caregiver or a bad person. It's just not getting along.
Right.
This is like with all of us, you know?
Now, let's talk about some other things. If there's anything I forgot, let me know. But one of the things that I noticed when my mother got older, that she had a very hard time, for instance, with the television. And and she couldn't read very well. And at some point I got her a machine where she could put papers or a book under it, and it was bigger. But I bet you have some ideas about, what do we need to look for, and what suggestions would you have if...
You know what, I'm talking about a long time about the media on we. With we, I mean seniors.
The media and
the
seniors.
Media, the printing, TV, radio, whatever you have, is not looking out for seniors, period, general, And I think we have to put a little bit our foot up there and say, hey, there is changes we can do very easily. For example, if you are bad hearing, you have CC, closed captioning. This is the title there under the picture.
You mean the subtitles?
Yeah, exactly. But is spoken, is written on the bottom of your TV screen.
Right.
And then, for example, you're on the news. Then they put the name of the person in who is talking. Can you know the name of the person? No, it's behind the closed captioning. There is a way to do it on the side or on the top, or put the closed captioning on the top or whatever. Sometimes I see it a little bit on TV, but not regularly. Right. Another thing is if you listen to radio, what a lot of elderly people also do, if you have a translation from a French language to English, very often the English translation started still having the foreign language in the back when it's fading out, you miss the beginning or you miss the end. With the music, it's the same. You put music on, you think, oh, I do something beautifully and nice, you know, and people talk over music. For elderly people with hearing problems, it's not working at all, you know. And this is the reason that I say, if we give out the information, you know, to all TV station, radio station, I could name now, you know, that I know them, this would be so great. There are small things, they cost no money or nothing, you know. But there's also the industry who build the radios, who build the TVs. There is so much more we can do with technique, you know. But
technically,
yeah.
Do you have an example of that? What they could do?
You know, I think I wrote an article called Media on We. I think we could make, when we have a TV, a new TV coming up, you know, and you buy a new TV, there should be on the remote control some buttons, you know, that you can put slower the whole news coming up for yourself, not what is sending, but inside the TV. Or you can make movies slow down, not only get backwards or slow motion, just to have maybe 1 or 2 seconds, the whole movie a little slower. This would be helpful for a lot of elderly people.
I think they have it under DDR or something. You can do that. My friend, so sometimes she starts a program later. You know, program is going on, and she starts it later. And then I've seen her, especially her husband, especially for sports, then slow it down a little bit so he can see it better. So I think I know what you mean, what they can do.
But this is, it should be regular with each program on TV, you know? It's not a problem.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's have people enjoy their lives. And then there's birthdays.
Oh, yeah.
And then what do you give, you know, what was I going to give my mother who was 90, and what was I going to give my friend who was 102? Let's say someone is still, you know, ambulatory. They can still go out. What are some suggestions you have for birthdays, for holidays, for people?
If people are still able to go out, there is a lot that they can do. You can go on walks, cost nothing. You have also looked at the costs, you know, if you like to spend money or only a little less money or no money at all. You can go on walks, but you can also do something like go on a hayride, go on a movie tour. You know, for example, in Monterey is a bus. The owner of the bus had little TVs behind each seat.
Oh, yeah?
You can still sit there. And he is showing little pieces of movies that are made on the coast there. Monterey, Pebble Beach, Carmel. And he drives around with this
some
bus.
history kind of, that's nice.
And then you sit there and you see this little movie, and you see the movies from the 40s, 50s and 60s. They are sometimes made, partial made, on the Central Coast here, you know.
Right.
And then he stopped at a restaurant or whatever, and you can go in and you're sitting the whole time. In Carmel Valley is a man, he get making hay rides. He comes with his tractor, and you have the wagon, and then he got these little step stools, and you go in there and you sit in the back, and he also drives you around in town. There are so many things that you go to a library, you know, or you go together. Important is to spend time with your loved ones. It means not that you spend hundreds of dollars. Important is to spend the time. On the time you have no money for, you know? And this is the important part. Go once a week with those people or something else, you know? This is the part for me. Or we go in another way. If you know that people have not a lot of money, hire a house cleaner. Pay for the house cleaner for a year or 6 months. Pay for a dentist. Pay for new glasses. Dry cleaning. There are so many things you can think about it, you know, and give it together with flowers and a nice letter, you know. It makes so much more fun also for the people that receive it. If they have new glasses or new frames, they know exactly, wow, look Mathilde had given me these classes, you know?
Yeah.
I find very often people ask me about this, and this is the question that I say, I come down with a whole list. If people like to ask me or call me or whatever, it's not a question. I can give them a list and I send it or whatever they like to see. It is also on the internet. Yeah.
Right. So, I have your list in front of you. One of the things that you're saying is, sometimes an audiobook from the library.
Why not?
For people who are hard of hearing and or vision problems.
Yeah.
And then there's things we can do for people who are hard of hearing, like you said, maybe have the captions set up.
Yeah.
Because besides that there is the availability of closed caption, not everybody knows how to set it up.
Exactly.
So if people are technically inclined and they see a family member or a neighbor who has a hard time, set up the closed caption. No, I think it's great.
Yeah.
I really like, and then you say here, go to a concert.
Yeah,
go to the
that's
opera.
also on my list. Yeah.
And so, I actually remember my 102-year-old friend who was not able to go outside. But they all made a concerted effort that throughout the day, different times of the day, not all bunched up, that the different family members from all around the country would call in. And, and I was there for part of the time, and just the fact that people called in and they didn't have to give a present because at that point she didn't need all that, but she was so pleased and so excited, and I could see it in her eyes.
Yeah.
Now, we have a minute left. Is there anything that I didn't ask you that we really should maybe discuss?
I would like to share that people show respect with each other. And very often family members think they are doing the right thing for the seniors, and seniors have very different ideas. Talk with each other. Talk with each other what you want and what is important for you. This is, for me, every time when I come to houses, I see that communication is very on the low burner. And this is something what I tell everybody. Please talk with each other, and especially elderly people. They are a little hesitant, to express the wishes. But for me, important is respect, respect, respect.
Thank you so much, and that is exactly what my program is about. Thank you so much for being here, Ruth.
Thank you for inviting me.
You're welcome.
Appreciate very, very much.
Thank you at home for watching. This was Connect.
When I look back, I still have no regrets. But it's so hard to say goodbye when there's so much that's left unspoken in your eyes. But unless I spread my wings again, I'm afraid I'll never soar. So hang on to the memories and hold me close once more. Once more, just once before